the editorial time. Now, the Constitution has imposed the obligation to appoint a Chief Justice on the President. Chief Justices usually retire at the age of 70. They have a secure tenure because they are appointed usually from the Supreme Court, but in theory, they could be appointed from the Superior Court of Judicature. But in practice, they are appointed from the Supreme Court. Now, judges become Supreme Court judges either by rising through the ranks, being recommended by the Judicial Council for appointment by the President. The Superior Court of Judicature includes the High Court, the Court of Appeal, the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. The lower court judges include the Circuit Court and down below all the way to the District and Community Court. So justices become Supreme Court judges through this line. Now, the Supreme Court is usually a court of an appellate court, as they say, so that if you are dissatisfied with the decision of the lower court through to the High Court and the Court of Appeal, you can apply to the Supreme Court for redress and also for interpretation. Fundamentally, though, the Supreme Court is set out to interpret the Constitution, which is the key job of the judiciary in Ghana and the judiciary everywhere, in fact. So when you have concerns about constitutional interpretation, the Supreme Court could be a court of first instance where you go there to find out something. The Supreme Court also has certain jurisdiction, original jurisdiction in certain matters, some of them newly created, like an election petition. So when a presidential election occurs, and one candidate is unhappy with the results, as we saw in Ghana in 2012, the Supreme Court is the correct forum to ventilate these issues about presidential election disputes. Now, when the Chief Justice, who is really a first among equals at the Supreme Court, and also the head of the administration, who is also the fourth most important person in Ghana under the Constitution, because power devolves from the President to the Vice President to the Speaker and eventually to the Chief Justice. So Chief Justice is an important person in the society. Recently, people have accustomed with Chief Justice and seen the public service of Chief Justice during the 7th January inaugurations. That's when a lot of people encounter this person called the Chief Justice, because they work in the quiet, they are the courts, they empanel the courts, and if your business is not about the courts, you often do not see them. But when they are swearing in the Speaker or the President, usually you will see them, and you see them in their awe, in their red and all of that. So Chief Justices have been inaugurating the President. Justice Theodora Wood, the outgoing one, has the record in the Fourth Republic of actually inaugurating 3 heads of state, beginning with Professor Mills, then President John Dramani Mahama, and then Flight Lieutenant, did I say Flight Lieutenant? And then President Akufo-Addo. Now, the story began in the Fourth Republic with Flight Lieutenant Rawlings, whose first inauguration was done by Chief Justice Philip Archer, and then to Justice Aban. There's been controversy this evening about whether Judge Wood has conducted 4 swearing-ins or is actually 3. The record of fact is that it is 3, because in President Kufuor's second term, Chief Justice George Kingsley Akwa was the one who led Kufuor to the swearing-in. So we're beginning the editorial with this foundation, and we'll be ending with the fact that we think Justice Jones Dotse will be nominated by President Akufo-Addo. We'll tell you why. But here is a 2-minute video of Chief Justices in the Fourth Republic swearing in presidents, beginning with Philip Archer.
Uphold. That I will uphold.
The sovereignty.
The sovereignty.
The integrity.
The integrity.
Of Ghana.
Of Ghana.
And that.
And that.
I dedicate myself.
I dedicate myself.
To the service.
To the service.
And well-being.
And well-being.
Of the people of the Republic of Ghana.
Of the people of the Republic of Ghana.
And to do right.
And to do right.
To all manner of persons.
To all manner of persons.
So help me God.
So help me God.
This is a presidential oath now.
Having been elected to the high office of President.
Having been elected to the high office of President.
Of the Republic of Ghana.
Of the Republic of Ghana. And to do right.
To all manner of persons.
To all manner of persons.
To the laws of the Republic of Ghana.
To the laws of the Republic of Ghana.
And suffer the penalty.
And suffer the penalty.
For it.
For it.
So help me God.
So help me God.
And that
I, John Ajekum Kufuor,
further solemnly swear.
I further solemnly swear
that should I at any
time
break this oath of office,
I
shall submit myself
to
to the laws of the Republic of Ghana,
to the laws of the Republic of Ghana,
and suffer the penalty for it.
and suffer the penalty for it.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I further solemnly swear
I further solemnly swear
that should I at any time break this oath of office,
that should I at any time break this oath of office,
I shall submit myself
I shall submit myself
to the laws of the Republic of Ghana
to the laws of the Republic of Ghana
and suffer the penalty for it.
and suffer the penalty.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I, John Dramani Mahama,
Do in the name of the Almighty God swear that should I at any time break this oath of office,
that should I at any time break this oath of office,
I shall submit myself
I shall submit myself
to the laws of the Republic of Ghana
to the laws of the Republic of Ghana
and suffer the penalty for it.
and suffer the penalty for it.
So help me God.
I, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo,
Do in the name of the Almighty God swear
do in the name of the Almighty God swear
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the Republic of Ghana
and allegiance to the Republic of Ghana, so help me God.
So you've seen the Chief Justices doing that work. So Georgina Wood, the three of them, but we were not able to get the video of Justice George Kingsley Akwa, which event occurred on the 7th of January 2005. In between Justice Aban and Justice Georgina Wood, there was also Justice Redu, who fell ill after 2 years or so, upon which Justice Akwa was appointed, and he sadly died in office. After which Georgina Wood was appointed, and she's there now and will be setting out. So let's come to why we are telling you that we think that Justice Jones Dotse will have the job. There's a small pedestrian issue that we'll begin with, and it's about the president, and we're trying to buy into the psyche of President Akufo-Addo. Now, he comes to this decision with a lot of historical background. So here's a gentleman, a president, who was raised by his father, a lawyer, who became Chief Justice, and later on president, and he himself was a lawyer for many years and became Attorney General. So within the context of the legal society, Akufo-Addo perhaps has a lot of information to assist him to make this decision. Why do we think that he will make the decision? His name was Justice F.K. Apalu, one of the finest brains in the judiciary that we have had. And Justice Akufo-Addo was Mr. Akufo-Addo, I should say. Well, Justice Akufo-Addo, President, Second Republic, and Mr. Akufo-Addo, President, Fourth Republic, were both very fond of Justice Apalu. The evidence of Akufo-Addo's fondness in Justice Apalu is a famous decision he took to defend Justice Apalu in court in 1979, when it appeared that the Third Republican government was overreaching Justice Apalu to make him the Chief Justice. Mr. Apalu was Chief Justice at the time that the government arrived in office in September 1979. And in terms of making a decision for Chief Justice, someone else was nominated. In the famous case of Tufor versus the Attorney General in Accra, Mr. Akufo-Addo led a legal team to court indicating that Justice Apalu was the rightful person to be made Chief Justice. So you can see his connection with Justice Apalu in that regard. Of course, Justice Apalu hailed from the Volta region, and he was a great Chief Justice, and he died later on. Justice Apalu himself was very fond of Akufo-Addo in public speaking that he made during his tenure as Chief Justice. So, yes, Mr. Akufo-Addo's very good friend, a friend of his family, Justice Apalu, one of the finest judges from the Volta region. He passed. We are suspecting that Mr. Akufo-Addo will be looking to restore the Volta region's Chief Justice status after Apalu, who was Chief Justice in 1979 over a very long time. He will be thinking that Justice Apalu will be glad with an appointment like that. And if that is so, Justice Dotse perhaps will be the one. And that's what we are thinking. So that's the pedestrian. We are now coming to the real issues of the time. Also, if you look at Akufo-Addo's political history, recent political history, in terms of the regions in Ghana, in terms of the MPP, He had been very worried about the NDC propaganda piece out of the fact that in the 2008 second round election, the MPP won 2 regions and the MPP won 8 regions. And you would notice that over the years since 2008, he's been trying to get the MPP to win other regions. One of the regions that concerns him most, and he said it publicly so many times, is the Volta region. He's been worried that the Volta region has been rejecting the MPP over time, and he's made it a conscious effort to win over the Volta region to the MPP. He was sufficiently successful in the last election. You will notice that his votes as a MPP candidate is the highest in the Fourth Republic, and the MPP restored a seat in the Northern Volta region, and he has immediately in his first cabinet, he named Peter Mewu, who was the original chairman, as the Minister for Lands. So you get a sense that intellectually, philosophically, and politically, President Akufo-Addo is interested in getting the Volta region to think that there's no antagonism between the leadership of the New Patriotic Party and the Volta region. This will be an excellent opportunity for him to establish that again. So that's why we think that this is going to Justice Dotse anyway. So that's a political reason. Now let's come to another reason. It would appear that Justice Dotse, and I said in the beginning of the program that people arrive at the Supreme Court either through the ranks as a judge from the from the High Court, Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court, or people can be called from the bar straight to the Supreme Court. Justice Dotse is one of those who's been called from the bar to the Supreme Court. When that happens, usually barristers all over the world, in England, America, everywhere, they get excited by an appointment like that, a call from one person who unanimously all the lawyers think has distinguished himself in practice and therefore deserves to sit on the bench. You get that a lot. So Mr. Akufo-Addo, being an intense barrister, would be excited by Justice Dotse's trajectory to the Supreme Court. But let's also look at the thinking, the legal philosophical thinking of the two men. Now, the only judge that President Akufo-Addo mentioned in his concession speech after the election petition was Justice Dotse. In fact, he actually quoted him in his speech after the election petition. Here is what he said. Let's have a look at that and come back and continue with the other analysis. And we will show you tonight that this decision is going to Justice Dotse.
To quote one of the Supreme Court judges, quote, "After this case, elections in Ghana will not be the same," unquote. In other words, we might not have been given the ruling we sought, but thanks to our efforts, we can hopefully look forward to an improved electoral process in our country.
But I hope you caught it in the beginning where he said that, as one of the judges said in the court case, the elections in Ghana will never be the same again. So that was the evidence that President Akufo-Addo was thinking legally the same way with Justice Dotse. Now, during the few months to the election, you remember the Abu Ramadan list of cases, you know, and Justice Dotse broke protocol to comment publicly about a certain interpretation that appeared to be lost on almost everyone, and people were giving the interpretation to it after the court had said something about the National Health Insurance Card and its application for voting in Ghana. The Electoral Commission was of the view that the judgment from the court meant that people could still use the NHIS card. The case of Abu Ramadan was against that. And Justice Dotse broke protocol one morning when he met journalists to indicate what the court wanted to say in favor of the Abu Ramadan canvassed position. Here is what he said.
You heard it. The Supreme Court was quite forthright and clear that the use of the NHIS cards is unconstitutional because the criteria for the NHIS card was not based on Ghanaian citizenship but only on residence in Ghana. So any foreigner who is resident in Ghana for 6 months and more can register under the NHIS cards. That was the basis upon our decision in 2014. And the recent one, we said the use of the NHIS cards is therefore unconstitutional. They should take the opportunity to clean the register of those undesirable persons. Therefore, we also did not want to disenfranchise anybody. So the Supreme Court went on to say anybody who will be affected by that exercise must be given the opportunity to register according to the law and the Constitution. Period. That's it.
And the EC is saying that that's not the direct the instruction from
as I said, I don't want to interpret the judgment. If anybody is aggrieved, then they should come back.
Justice Dotse there reminding himself of his obligation and saying at the end of the interview that he did not want to interpret the judgment, but really he had already done that. And many of the NDC people were unhappy with him. In fact, many purists at law were unhappy with him because a Supreme Court judge ought not to break protocol and explain the import of a judgment to journalists when a microphone is thrust at him at a public event. But he did that. And then that was the firm position as well of President Akufo-Addo, Abu Ramadan, and the members of the New Patriotic Party. So there's a final one. Now, Justice Dotse also said ahead of the 2016 election that if people, the candidates, any candidates who loses the election, they should remember to concede the same way that Akufo-Addo conceded when he lost the 2012 Supreme Court verdict, virtually eulogizing the MPP presidential candidate. Here is that video as well. This is what Justice Dotse said.
Let me use this platform to urge all the political actors in Ghana to accept the decisions of the courts on election dispute adjudication with a good heart, as was done by Nana Akufo-Addo in August 2013. This platform to urge all the political actors in Ghana to accept the decisions of the courts on election dispute adjudication with a good heart, as was done by Nana Akufo-Addo in August 2013. There is no doubt that judges in Ghana have become very bold, courageous, fearless, and principled in their work. Such a judge is a bulwark against oppression and a protector of the rule of law. So
that was Justice Dotse again. He said what? If the candidates lose the 2016 election, they should do what to concede. The same way that Nana Akufo-Addo did, and justices have become bold. So on the basis of all of this, beginning with a pedestrian story about what we suspect the president to be hoping to restore the pride of Justice F.K. Apalu, to have a Chief Justice from the Volta region, also to complete the quartet of national leadership, President, Vice President, Speaker, and the Chief Justice. Also coming to his legal philosophical thinking with Justice Dotse, and that Justice Dotse is a Supreme Court judge who came from the bar. All of these things combined, Justice Dotse's pronouncement as election petition, which seemed to have excited the president to the point where he used it in his concession speech. Justice Dotse coming out publicly to say that the NHIS card cannot be used as unconstitutional, and eventually urging candidates who lose the election to concede like Akufo-Addo conceded, when in fact Akufo-Addo was also contesting that election. Well, that was interesting. But we think on the basis of all of these things, our analysis points to the fact that this decision of the next Chief Justice of Ghana will go to Justice Dotse. Here ends our editorial.